So I want to say a few words. Truthfulness is the topic of the parami of the month, as you know, and so many levels to this and angles on it. Of course, it's connected very much with right speech, right? With clearly part of right speech is not lying, not sharing, not creating falsehood, not fibbing, not in that whole space, in the public space, in the interpersonal space, being more truthful in that sense, more honest and straightforward. And a lot, but that's covered in right speech, a lot of that. So why is truthfulness a parami? One of the places where they go a lot with it in the suttas, truthfulness. It's very much connected with the Four Noble Truths, and whether our truthfulness is beginning to align or realign or more closely align with the Four Noble Truths or not. Yeah. And the reason for that being, the underpinning for that is that it's when there's as the deeper alignment with the Four Noble Truths starts to show up in our lives, that is considered to be the path to the deeper sense of contentment and happiness that we've all been looking for forever. That's the underlying sensibility of that, and to break that down further, it's the ways that we are wired to and conditioned to seek for happiness, mostly in our lives, has been through trying to arrange our lives externally and internally in more favorable ways, favorable ways. To invite the good, to keep the good around, to keep the stuff that's uncomfortable away, out in the world and internally, etc., etc. And that while there's in conventional truth, there's when they're called in samsara, the thousand joys and the thousand sorrows. Yeah, there are the thousand joys of that approach to seeking happiness as well. There's a lot of possible joy in that. That as we drill down a bit more deeply, there's something inherently limiting from the Buddhist psychology point of view in that approach, because one of the things that we see as we look more closely and more continuously at our experience and more broadly at our experience, is that it's all impermanent. All of it. All the time. Changing all the time. And so there's an inherent conflict here in terms of, wanting something to stay that's not going to stay. Wanting to create a world where there's relative permanence in a world that's radically impermanent, and not wanting to align too much with the impermanence, and yet at some level, it's all about creating sandcastles that are not going to last, and coming to terms. What does it mean to be more harmonious in an ever-changing landscape, in an impermanent landscape? And so part of it is beginning in terms of truthfulness, is to be beginning to take a closer look at what's going on there. There's a wonderful Tibetan prayer that I love. May you come to know the causes of mental distress and suffering within your own experience. And may you come to more deeply know the causes of deeper happiness or contentment as you look more closely in your internal experience. You know? Yeah. Not just may you be happy, but may you come to know the causes of happiness, and may you come to see that they're not quite aligned all the time with the ways you've been looking for happiness. You know, how's that worked? How's that working out? How's that working out? Everything's changing. It's all slip sliding away all the time, you know? And so truthfulness is more keenly turning our attention to this first, it's one of the first important matters of investigation, you know? How are we what's going on here in our search for happiness, and how's that worked out so far, and what's going on there, and what is this other way that the Buddhism is talking about? What does it mean that there's that somehow I'm part of co-creating my own distress in some ways that I'm maybe aware of, some ways that I'm kind of aware of, but I don't want to be more aware of because I'm attached in certain ways to certain things and certain patterns, and et cetera, et cetera. And how much am I beginning to be truthful about the Four Noble Truths, and to start to see that, beginning to see that it is craving. It is holding on in the thousand ways that we do that. It is part of what's creating my mental distress. It's the tight holding. It's not savoring that creates suffering. I had a thought the other day. It's about savoring, not craving. It's not savoring. It's not saying we don't want to, open to experience and feel into it, but it's more the craving. But this is something that we need to investigate for ourselves. So that the Four Noble Truths, especially the first one, the second one, are not just conceptual. They're real. That's really what's going on in here. My orientation really is to grab at this, to grab at that, to push that away, to kind of, maybe I can exchange some impermanent moments of experience for other impermanent moments of experience, and that I'll be happy doing that, even though if I look more closely, those are impermanent also. So that is really, when you look at the suttas, it's like the truthfulness is about, are you seeing things more truly along the axis of the Four Noble Truths? And you have the willingness. It takes a little courage too. Some of what we see, it takes patience. I think Susan mentioned this the other day, right? It's not a coincidence the order in which these paramis are laid out also. It takes patience. It takes mindfulness. It takes willingness to look more closely. It takes a pause. It takes, what's going on here? I often use that image of like, we're rushing. I often think of the image of a bird cocking its head, like, hey, buddy, what are you up to here? What's going on with that? What are you grabbing for? What is it that's feeling that's not quite enough? But if this were here, it would be enough. It's almost enough. What is that? What's that not quite enoughness thing that's going on there? Can I take a moment and feel into that? I just want to lay that out a bit in terms of truthfulness. it's really the willingness to take a closer look, a closer look. And that willingness does not is it doesn't just fall off a tree, that willingness, you know it's hard earned a little bit. We don't There are some things that part of our pattern is not wanting to look at certain parts of our patterns. We're also attached to not looking in certain ways. Yeah. And part of it is like, it's not all fun looking at how much I'm clenching and grabbing and wanting and what is this discontent? Ooh, ooh. Um, but it's part of the direction of this practice for all of us. It's just taking a closer look. Taking a closer look at what we've been up to, and not again. It's nice to have a little kindness aboard too when we do this kind of looking. It's not about further judging. It's just like, oh, ooh, I didn't know this was going on this much of the time. Oh, let me just settle back here for a minute. Hmm, yeah. So more to come from other angles on truthfulness, but maybe that'll be enough for this morning. And let's practice a little bit together. Okay, meditate a little bit together. Open up a little bit. Yeah, do it. When you're ready, lightly closing the eyes. Maybe a few somewhat more expanded breaths. The in breath, and especially on the out breath, letting go. That sense of release. And with each exhale, for a little while, softening and releasing. And when the mind drifts away, of course, returning with kindness, to the present moment, carrying attention, the heart and mind coming together here in your practice, carrying attention. The last few minutes of the meditation. And settling back.